Part 3. While Martha was stuck in her rural hometown, she texted me every single day, begging to come back. I casually replied that since no one was monitoring her out there, she could hoard all the trash she wanted. To really twist the knife, I even ordered her a heavy-duty trash picker tool off Amazon and shipped it to her. Sure enough, she couldn't resist. She started hoarding empty cans and scrap metal all over her hometown. One afternoon at the office, I got a frantic call from Tom. Martha had gotten into huge trouble. Her local dumpsters weren't enough to satisfy her hoarding addiction anymore, so she started encroaching on other scavengers' territory. Despite multiple warnings to back off, she arrogantly ignored them. Eventually, she got into a physical altercation with a local scrap collector. "Tommy, you have to have them arrested. They knocked my tooth out." Martha wailed over FaceTime, sporting a black eye and a bleeding lip. Tom was completely exasperated. The person who hit her was an 80-year-old local woman. Even the local police couldn't do much beyond mediating the dispute. "What do you mean? Let it go!" Martha shrieked. "She stole my dumpster. I want compensation." The police officers just shook their heads, and the two parties separated with nothing resolved. Having taken a beating for absolutely nothing, Martha cried to Tom, swearing she would never hoard trash again. "Please, Tommy, let me come live with you guys again. I'm so lonely out here, I promise I'll behave." Tom, depressed over losing his promotion and desperate for some maternal coddling, caved in. He brought her back to our house. For the first few days, she actually behaved. She watched TV, bought groceries, and even ignored the old hoarder man in our neighborhood when he waved at her. But I knew a hoarder's itch never truly goes away. A few weeks later, the weather warmed up and foraging season began. While cleaning out the garage, I conveniently bumped into the old hoarder man. "Your mother-in-law hasn't been out collecting lately," he noted, looking disappointed. I sighed deeply. "My husband strictly forbade it. It's a shame, really. I heard you found a great new spot last week," I prodded gently. "Oh yeah!" The old man's eyes lit up. "Behind the State Nature Reserve, near the restricted wetlands. I found a whole patch of wild mushrooms. Sells for a fortune at the farmer's market." In my past life, it was exactly this old man's influence that led Martha into the woods to bring back those fatal snake eggs. "I'll secretly let her know," I whispered conspiratorially. "She's been so depressed lately. A little foraging in the woods couldn't hurt." The old man praised me for being such an understanding daughter-in-law. As soon as Tom left for work, I relayed the information to Martha. Her hands literally twitched with excitement. After a few days of pacing the living room, she couldn't resist the temptation anymore. She geared up and followed the old man straight into the restricted state wetlands. For the first few days, she just brought back wild mushrooms. Tom, ignorant as always, devoured them, praising his mother's cooking. But finally, the day arrived. Martha ventured deeper into the federally protected marshland. When she came home, she wasn't carrying mushrooms. Through my hidden cameras, I watched her pull a cluster of leathery, distinctively shaped eggs out of her bag. I zoomed in on the feed. They weren't snake eggs this time. They were the eggs of the bog turtle, a critically endangered, federally protected species native to the state wetlands. Poaching them, or tampering with their nests, was a massive federal crime, carrying astronomical fines and potential prison time. When Tom got home, Martha presented the eggs to him like a trophy. "Look what I found. Wild turtle eggs." The old man said these are a rare delicacy. People pay thousands of dollars for these on the black market. Tom, who was still bitter and strapped for cash after losing his promotion bonus, suddenly looked interested. "Wait, seriously?" "Yeah, I was going to cook some for you. If they're worth that much, maybe we should sell the rest." Instead of being disgusted, Tom's greed completely took over. He actually ate the 2 eggs Martha scrambled for him, claiming they tasted exotic, and carefully placed the rest of the endangered clutch into a makeshift incubator in the garage, planning to fence them online. I didn't say a word. I just quietly went into my home office, locked the door, and submitted a highly detailed, anonymous tip to the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service and the State Department of Environmental Conservation. I attached the crystal-clear security footage of Martha bringing the eggs in, and audio of Tom explicitly discussing selling them on the black market. I didn't have to wait long. The very next afternoon, 2 unmarked black SUVs and a local police cruiser pulled up to our driveway. Federal wildlife agents and state police raided the house when they opened the garage and found the incubator full of federally protected endangered eggs. Tom's face drained of all colour. "Sir, you are in possession of critically endangered wildlife," the lead federal agent stated coldly. "Under the Endangered Species Act, the penalty is up to $25,000 per egg and a federal felony charge." "No! Wait! I found them in the woods," Tom shrieked, instantly throwing Martha under the bus. "I didn't know what they were." "We have recorded evidence of you attempting to solicit buyers online for illicit wildlife trafficking," the agent replied, slapping handcuffs on him. Martha tried to physically fight the officers, screaming that she was just picking up trash, which only resulted in her getting pinned against a police cruiser and charged with assaulting an officer. The fallout was catastrophic because of the federal felony indictment and the massive public scandal that hit the local news. Tom's corporate employer fired him immediately. He was slapped with a $150,000 federal fine, obliterating his entire savings and plunging him into massive debt. His career was permanently destroyed. But the humiliation didn't end there. A few days later, while Martha was out on bail, she was slinking through the apartment complex courtyard. Suddenly, a woman with wild, frizzy hair charged at her. "You home-wrecking old bat." It was the wife of the old hoarder man. Apparently, the old man had been bragging to his buddies about his foraging dates in the woods with Martha. His fiercely protective wife, who usually lived out of town, helping her daughter with childcare, had caught wind of their little wilderness romance. She tackled Martha into the community fountain, slapping her relentlessly. "Too cheap to buy your own garbage, so you try to steal my husband." Martha, weak and wearing cheap, scavenged clothes that ripped immediately in the scuffle, was completely defenseless. She was left humiliated, crying, and desperately trying to cover herself in the middle of the courtyard while all the neighbours filmed it on their phones. The police were called, and both women were lectured, but Martha's reputation in the community was completely annihilated. She couldn't even walk to the mailbox without people pointing and laughing. Completely broken, she packed her garbage bags and slunk back to her rural hometown for good. As for Tom, he came crawling to me, begging me to help him pay his astronomical federal legal fees. I looked at him, completely deadpan, and handed him a folder. "What's this?" he asked, trembling. "Divorce papers. And an eviction notice," I smiled. "While you were busy eating garbage and trafficking endangered species, I finalized the paperwork to sell my half of the house. The mortgage is in your name, but the equity was mine. You're on your own with the federal government, Tommy. I moved into a beautiful brand new apartment downtown, free of the hoarders, the rats, and the toxic parasites that masqueraded as family. But even now, every night before I go to sleep, I always double-check that my doors and windows are locked tight, because you never know which will arrive first, tomorrow, or a disaster you invited through your own front door." The end.